Hey guys, hello and welcome, and in this video I'm going to be going over tinting the headlights in my Audi A4. So whilst the bumper's off to do the cam belts, now's the perfect time to move the headlights and crack them open. And this is not going to be just applying a film over the top which, you know, dulls the output and all that stuff. This is actually going to be opening the headlight up and actually specifically painting certain parts of it to smoke the inside and make them dark. In this video, I'm going to add some contrast to the lights by blacking out some of the chrome and getting rid of the fried egg look over the indicators. When we're done, the finished product should look something like this. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the light from the car. Now I'm not going to go over this in any detail because there's plenty of videos on YouTube if you need to know how to do this. We start off by removing the clips around the edge of the headlights. They come off quite easily with a flat-headed screwdriver. Just get a screwdriver under, give it a twist sideways and it should pop right off. And once that's done, just pull a rubber weather strip off the end where the indicator is. To separate the light cluster into two, I'm going to be using a heat gun to heat up the adhesive strip that runs around the outside. Now some people like to use an oven. I don't actually particularly like this method because I actually find that it's going to heat the entire light up. I just really don't want to be heating everything when I need to be heating a specific part to a high temperature, so I find a heat gun's a much more precise way to go. On my heat gun, I'm just going to start by turning the temperature up to quite a high setting, and then I'm going to just gently heat up where the adhesive strip meets the plastic and the clear lens. And just start going across, gently applying heat. And we just want to get the entire glue strip on the outside nice and hot. And once you've done that, you actually just want to start focusing on one end of the light. The end you want to start peeling it off. So I'm going to start on the bigger end of the two and apply a bit more heat to there. And once it's hot, we can take our flat-headed screwdriver again and start prying the lens apart. Just work gently and slowly with this, and if you find there's a bit too much resistance, just apply a little bit more heat and you find that the light cluster will start pulling apart. Eventually, when it starts actually coming apart by a centimetre to an inch, just keep a constant gradual pressure on it and you should find that the entire light cluster will separate into two. Now we're going to start disassembling the light by removing the plastic trim within the light cluster. Now if memory serves me correct, this needs to be a T10 and needs to be quite long, links in the description below. And just undo the two screws there and the plastic part should just pull straight out. Any parts that I remove will be cleaned off with some isopropyl alcohol just to make sure there's no grease or dirt so that the primer adheres to it properly. Now it's time to get rid of the fried egg look. Now all you need to do is undo the two screws at the top and the bottom of the indicator. The bottom one comes out quite easily and you see the top one's hidden a little bit below, so you just have to try and slide your Torx head in there, and then the indicator cluster will pull out when the two screws are removed. By applying a firm and steady pressure to the amber housing, it should pop straight out of the cluster. After that, the indicator can be reattached to the rest of the light cluster. Just note here, I'm just sticking one screw in the bottom because the top one is really hard to get back in, and the light is completely secure with just one screw. Now we need to remove the chrome strip from the front of the lens. All we need for this is a T8 Torx head, and just undo the three screws and the part should pop straight out. Again, make sure all pieces are wiped down with some isopropyl alcohol. And now it's on to the exciting bit, actually spraying the lights. So I'm actually using some plastic primer here, and I'm just going to stick in some warm water because it's a really cold day outside, and this just makes sure I get good spray pattern coming out. So shake up for 2 minutes and then I'm going to apply it to the pieces we need to be painted. I'm going to be hitting this for about 3 coats. So on the first coat, I'm actually just going for a nice light coverage, maybe about 40 to 50%. So we start a bit further away, and then we just basically make sure it's got a light smattering across it all, and then we'll go a bit heavy in the next 2 coats. Once that's done, leave it for at least 10 minutes. If you can leave it for longer, great, but on a day like this, it was threatening to rain and it's going to go dark, so I just need to get this done as quickly as feasibly possible. So 10 minutes later, come back and I do the second coat, and this time I just go a little bit slower, I go a little bit further in, and I just try to make sure I get that bit more coverage. So this time I hope it's to get about 70 to 80% of the parts painted. So yeah, just go over all the parts slowly, steadily, and again, once that's done, we're going to leave it then for another at least 10 minutes, and we're going to then hit it finally with our third coat. Now our third and final coat is going to be going for 100% coverage. So as you can see, I'm just getting a little bit closer, I'm going a little bit thicker and making sure every single part of the piece is covered in primer. Obviously, just make sure you don't go too slow and too close, otherwise you're going to get runs and drips in the primer and that's going to look bad. Once it's covered, we're going to wait for about half an hour for the primer to dry, and then we're going to take some satin black spray paint and actually spray the parts. Spraying the parts black is pretty much the exact same as spraying it with the primer. We're going to start off with 3 coats, we're going to start off lighter, and of course in a cold weather like this, we're going to make sure that the paint as well is being heated up in some water to get the right spray pattern. Obviously it's important we get the spraying parts right because this determines how good our finish is. On a slightly different side note, I know someone on here watching this is going to say, why didn't I bother keying and sanding down the parts before I stuck the primer on, because obviously it's going to stick better, and that's absolutely correct. It was just pretty much came down to the fact that one, the light cluster doesn't take much abuse anyway behind it because it's not exposed to any elements, and secondly it was a really cold day and I just didn't really have the time to do it, it was going dark early. And finally, I've done this on an A4 before, my previous A4, and this was absolutely fine the way I did it. I did it the exact same way, and I never had any problems. Whilst the parts are drying, it's actually a good idea now to try and make sure that the light cluster itself, the lens, is as clean as possible. Now mine's actually got a little bit scorched from the years of the headlights hitting it on the inside, so I'm just going to get some Autoglim Super Resin Polish, wipe it down a bit and just try to make it as smooth as possible on the inside. And then I need to buff it off, make sure it's as clean as possible so there's nothing left on it, no residue. And then finally I'm just going to get some glass cleaner and make sure there's no fingerprints left or anything like that. After about half an hour and all your painted parts are dried, it's time to start putting the light cluster back together. So I'm going to start by taking the big plastic piece of trim and sticking it into the light cluster. Now reassembly is pretty much the exact opposite of disassembly. The only thing I would just say, just be careful about tightening everything back up. It's all made out of plastic, so if you over tighten something it can be broken pretty easily. The same goes for the now painted chrome piece that's going onto the lens. Just also make sure as well you're not touching stuff like the lens with your fingers because you don't want to get fingerprints on the inside of the cluster. And with all that done, I now just want to quickly introduce you to the chrome covered bulbs I'm going to stick in the indicators. I see the old ones, they're clear and they need that amber cover to actually emit an orange light. These chrome ones, they look silver to the eye, but as soon as power's applied to them and they light up, they actually shine orange, so they're great for keeping away that fried egg look and just making the lights look a lot neater in general. And our final major step is now just reattaching the lens to the cluster, and again this is pretty much the exact opposite of disassembly. We're going to just heat up all the glue residue around the outside, and don't worry, there's plenty of glue applied to these lights by Audi, so we don't need to add anything else. Just heat up everything around the outside so it's nice and warm. And then once you've done that, we're going to start specialising in particular areas, so heat up a particular area, and then we're just going to clamp it down with our hands, squeeze firmly, and you actually start seeing the light come together. And once all that's done and the entire outside of the light is together, just apply the clips to the top and the bottom and the weather strip, and it's good to go back in the car. And there we have it guys, and the lights I think look amazing in the car. It's definitely took a few years off this 13-year-old Audi. It definitely looks a bit fresher on the front, and if you like this video just hit that subscribe button, give me a like or leave a comment below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram as well. See you soon, take care, thanks for watching.